Okay, so today's video, we're going to go over how to create a calorie deficit, basically giving you a step-by-step guide in what I do with clients, the general principles that I use with clients when I'm setting up their nutrition. And also, I'll give some little insight because there'll be probably little tricks that I do or little things that I found out over the years and the common problems that I come up with over the years for helping people with nutrition. So I guess I'm going to give all my secrets out in this video. So the first thing that you need to do if you're creating a deficit, you need to find what your maintenance calories are. And just to briefly go over it, if you don't know what that is, maintenance calories is basically the amount of food that you require to maintain your body weight. So let's say you sit on average 70 kilos. So your body weight fluctuates. You might be 70 kilos today, 71 tomorrow, 69.5, then back to 70. It goes up and down. But you'll find that on average, you're probably cruising at some sort of body weight, as long as you're not, gaining weight or losing weight. But you'll be cruising at some sort of body weight, even if there's fluctuations. Then your food is going to do the same thing. Unless you're a robot, then you probably eat more or less each day, particularly if you're not tracking your food. So you might have 2,000 calories one day, 2,100 the next day, 1,800 the next day. Okay, but then we can make an average of those calories as well. So if we know that your body weight is on average staying around, for example, 70 kilos, and on average, the food that you're consuming is about 2,000 calories, well, then we know that if you keep eating 2,000 calories, you are going to stay 70 kilos. Okay, so that's what the maintenance calories are. The amount of food that you need to eat to maintain your body weight. Now, using the method that I use, because I'm going to use basic maths and I like to quantify how much food we're consuming. You don't need to quantify. You can do it by logging your food, but I like to do it in this way. Doing it in another method is a whole separate video, but this way we're going to use maths, tracking sheets, and I guess do it in an efficient way so we can see exactly what's happening. So what we're going to do, we need to find what your maintenance calories is. So what we going to do is you want to weigh yourself daily. Weigh yourself daily first thing in the morning, fasted. So you after going to the toilet, before eating or drinking, with minimal clothing. You want to weigh yourself. Don't do it later at night. Don't do it in the gym or, at night, because that's not your true weight. Because you've eaten, you've drank water, you may or may not gone to the toilet. That weight isn't going to be accurate. Do it first thing in the morning because we want to minimize any variables that's going to affect that number on the scale. From this, we want to track your calories. So the common app that everyone uses is MyFitnessPal. There's probably 100 other apps that you can use, but you need to track your calories. With this, we're going to put this data in an Excel sheet, which I'm going to show you in a sec. Generally, we're going to get 2 weeks worth of data so we can make averages. And then we can compare the averages, particularly our body weights, to see if we're at maintenance calories. So generally, I'll give the example now. So if we look at, this is 2 weeks. So that's 1 week's worth of body weights. Okay. This is 2 weeks worth, the second week worth of body weights. If the averages of body weights are about 100 grams or under, in terms of the difference between the weeks, we can say you're probably at maintenance calories. So whatever calories here, this is probably maintenance. If it's 200 calories or more over, then you're probably in a surplus. If it's 200 calories or less in the other direction, then you're probably in a deficit. Okay, so as I said, weigh yourself daily. There's going to be fluctuations, so we want to reduce the noise. We want to smooth this out. Hence why we use averages. Same as the calories, they're probably going to be a little bit all over the place, but we can develop an average. And maybe what can help is making an average of the averages with your calories. Now, if you're not sure how to do this in Microsoft Excel, it's very simple. if you go into this cell and do equals average, you'll have this function. Double click that. You can highlight those cells, press enter, and that gives you the average. As I said, with your calories, you can make an average of the averages to get an average of the averages. Equals average week 1 calories, week 2 calories, and there we go. So in this example, this person is with 100 calories from week 1 to week 2. So we're going to be pretty close in saying that if this person's maintenance calories is probably around this number here, we'll just round up to 3,000. If this person continues to eat 3,000 calories, they're going to keep hovering around this 70.3, 70.4 mark. So this is how we are going to calculate the maintenance calories now, which is going to be important to now calculate a deficit. So as I already explained, if the difference in averages are over 200 grams, then you're probably in a surplus in terms of your body weight averages. If the difference in averages is 200 grams or less, then you're probably in a deficit. This should say deficit, not surplus. Okay. What happens if you do your averages of body weight and it's exceeded 200 grams? Okay, so what if the amount of food that you're eating is actually got you in a surplus or you're in a deficit? We can work that out. So this is a simplified equation, but it can work for what we need. About 1 kilo of stored body fat on your body is around 7,700 calories, okay? So 1 kilo of fat here is about 7,700 of stored calories. So if we go back to these differences, let's say week 1 here, let's delete all these just to make it less noisy. Let's say this person was 70 kilos week 1, week 2, 70.3. So they put on 300 grams, okay? So they're in some sort of surplus. So how do we work that out? It's pretty simple. As we said, we know that 1 kilo of stored body fat is going to be 7,700 calories. So all we're going to do, if I get the calculator here, so if we do 7,700 calories, we times that by that 300 grams of body weight we gained. So it'll be 0.3 equals. So this person is eating 2,310 calories over their maintenance per week. We can work that out as a daily surplus. So if we just divide that by 7 days, so this person on average, they're probably eating 330 calories over their maintenance calories per day. Okay? So if that person's maintenance is 2,000 to maintain 70 kilos, okay, if they're eating 2,330 calories, then they're probably in a 330 calorie surplus because they seem to be gaining about 300 grams a week. Then you could just do the opposite of that if you're losing. Let's say if this person was losing 300 grams. So we did the differences, okay, was 70 kilos, but then this other week they're 69.7. So they've lost 300 grams. So we can use that same equation, okay, and then work out that they're probably in a 330 calorie deficit per day. So we have worked out what our maintenance calories is. Now, how do we create our deficit? A general rule of thumb of how much weight you should aim to lose per week is around 0.5 to 1% of your total body weight per week, okay? If you're losing over 1% of your body weight per week, this might be a little bit too fast and you may risk losing muscle mass or seeing reductions in your performance in the weights room. If you're losing less than 0.5% per week, then the deficit, your cut's probably a little bit too slow and you're wasting time. We don't want to have this deficit. We want to get in and out this deficit, okay? We don't want to let it drag on because that's time wasted, which we can be gaining. So you don't want it too slow because then you're just wasting time. So using our 70 kilo person as an example, 0.5 to 1% of 70 kilos is going to be about 350 to 700 grams of loss per week. So that is around the range that I would want to see per week of a 70 kilo person losing, because that's within the 0.5 to 1% of loss per week. We found your maintenance calories. We know we want to aim to lose between 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. So how much calorie drop do we need to do from that maintenance that we found to fall between that 0.5 to 1% body weight per week? It's not too hard. We could just use the previous equations that we did in the last couple of slides. So let's go in the middle. Let's say we want to aim to lose 0.75% of our body weight per week. So if we do our 70 kilo male, we times that by 0.75, that's going to be aiming for a 520 grams loss per week. So going back to that equation that we used in a couple of slides ago, we know 1 kilo of body fat was around 7,700 calories. What do we want to lose? We want to lose 520 grams. So if we times that by 0.52, that's our 520 grams, equals, divide this number by 7, because this is the weekly calories. We want to know how much of a daily deficit do we require. So divide that by 7, okay? So we know around this, again, these are rough guidelines, but they work initially. They're pretty close. If we create a 570, or if we remove 572 calories from our maintenance calories, we're probably going to lose, we'll be around that 0.5 to 1% loss per week, okay? So let's say that this 70 kilo person worked out that their maintenance calories is 2,500. So if they eat 2,500, that's going to maintain their body weight. We want to lose 520 grams per week, around there. We worked out that we needed to make a 572 deficit per day to achieve that. So we remove that 572 deficit from the 2,500. That our initial calories that we're going to aim for is going to be 1,928 calories. However, we have to remember that you're minusing these calories from your maintenance calories. Okay, so if you were calculating your initial calories in the tracking sheet and you were in a surplus, let's say you worked out you were in a 300 calorie surplus, so you're eating 2,800, let's just say you're eating 2,800 calories, okay, and that's got you in a 300 calorie surplus. Remember, you're going to have to reduce those 300 calories first to get you to maintenance. So what that would be, that'd be 2,500, okay, and then you'll be minusing the 572 or whatever the deficit is from your maintenance, okay, because if we just minus the 572, for this example, from that 2,800, then the deficit is really only going to be 200 calories. So you have to make sure that you are minusing these calories from your maintenance calories, not your surplus calories. So you have started your deficit, and as the weeks go on, your weight is probably going to stall, and that you're going to have to make another calorie drop. This happens because your metabolism is going to slow down. There are metabolic adaptations that occur from being in a deficit. Likewise, you just being physically smaller, there is less human of you, you are moving less weight around, okay, you are going to require less energy to do your day-to-day life. Because of the metabolic adaptations, that initial 300 calorie deficit that we set as an example, as your metabolism slows down and as you become smaller, that original 300 calorie deficit may become a 200 calorie deficit. Then it might become a 150 calorie deficit, then 100, and so forth. Okay? Because that deficit is closing, you might see that your rate of loss starts to slow down per week. So then we need to we need to drop more calories so we can make that deficit a bit larger again, so we can get the ball rolling, so you continuously to lose weight. Now, just as a warning, what will probably happen when you make your initial deficit, let's say you've been on your maintenance calories for whatever 6 months and you decided summer's coming up, I want to look shredded, I want to go to festivals and take my shirt off and look mad. You make that initial deficit in the first 2 weeks, you may lose more weight than that in that range. So I said that you want to lose between 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. In that initial 2 weeks, you might exceed that 1% loss. When you make that first deficit, you're not just going to be losing body fat. You're going to lose things like water in your muscles, glycogen in your muscles. There's probably going to be less food in your stomach. Things like this can make your weight drop acutely, very quickly. In that first couple of weeks, what I'll probably do is don't change your deficit. Just let that weight drop happen, or let that spike in weight loss happen, okay? And let it smooth out. If you get to week 3 and you are still losing more than 1% per week, then you have a couple of options. If you're feeling fine, you're not feeling overly hungry, you're not feeling overly tired, maybe you got a higher body fat or got quite a lot of body fat to lose, then you know what? You can probably just stay just on that deficit. Even if it's beyond 1%, it's fine, because as we said, your metabolism is going to adapt. That rate of loss is probably going to slow down, and even if, let's say, you're losing 1.5% per body weight per week, over time, you're probably going to get to that 1% per week, and then probably get lower to 0.75%. So if you're feeling fine, you're a little bit fatter, you could just ride it out and it'll be fine. Option 2, let's say you want to eat a little bit more food. Maybe you're feeling really hungry, you're feeling like shit, you're feeling tired, and maybe you're a little bit leaner. You don't actually have much weight to lose. You only want to lose about 3 kilos. So we don't want to lose it too fast, because we might risk losing muscle mass. Then if you're up to week 3 and you're still above 1% loss, then what you could do, you could just increase your calories a little bit so you're not losing so quickly. So they're probably the 2 options that you can do over that 2-week initial stage, if you were losing more than 1% body weight per week. Alright, so let's say that your weight has stored and you need to make another calorie drop so you can continue getting the ball rolling and you can continue to lose body fat. How many calories should you drop? Generally, from what I've seen from working with clients and even just using and doing it for myself, generally, if you drop your calories by between 100 or 200 calories, that's usually enough to get the ball rolling again. From that, we haven't talked about how do you set up your protein, carbs, and fats, which I'm going to go over in a sec. So where should that calorie drop come from? How much carbs should I drop and how much fat should I drop when I'm doing that 100 to 200 calorie reduction? And likewise, we're going to go through of how to set up your macros, specifically your protein, carbs, and fats. We're going to do that now, and then I'll kind of come back to answering this question. So, if you are setting your protein intake for a cut, generally somewhere between 1.8 to 2.6 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. If you're leaner or older, you might be on the higher end of that protein recommendation. If you're younger and you've got higher body fat, then you might be on that lower end of that protein recommendation. And this will become important. So remember that 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. So fats, whatever your total calories is, let's say you are consuming 2,500 calories. That's going to be the calories that you want to consume for your deficit. 15 to 25% of your total calories should come from fat. Also, so you remember, 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. Carbohydrates, whatever calories are left over from after calculating your proteins and fats, that can come from carbs. That might have sounded confusing, and we're going to do an example. So let's say in this example, this person wants to eat 2,000 calories per day, and he weighs 70 kilos, and he decided that he wants to eat 2.3 grams of protein per kilo. So if we times 2.3 times 70, that's going to be 161 grams of protein. We said that there is 4 calories per gram of protein. So if we times that 161 times of protein times 4 calories, 644 calories from this 2,000 that they're eating, 644 is coming from protein. Now we want to work out how many calories are we going to distribute to fats. This person decided they want to eat 20% of their calories from fat. So if we do that 2,000 calories, we times it by 20%, 400 calories will be coming from fats. So we've got our calories from our protein, we've got our calories from our fats. If we plus them together, 1,044 calories from that 2,000 that we're eating has been dedicated to protein and fats. Now we said that whatever calories are left over is going to go to carbohydrates. So if we minus that 1,044 protein and fat calories from our total calories, we have 956 calories left over that can be allocated to carbohydrates. We said that 1 gram of carbohydrates equals 4 carbs. So if we divide that leftover calorie value by 4 grams of carbs, that gives us 239 grams of carbs. So this person's macros for their deficit at 2,000 calories is going to be 161 grams of protein, 45 grams of fats, and 239 grams of carbs. Now, back to the original point. We said that we're making that calorie reduction. How do we want to work out how to take some from fats and carbs. In this example, we decided that, okay, this person has stored, let's make a 150 calorie deficit drop. Protein, never change your protein. Just keep your protein the same. If you set it on 2.3 grams per kilo of body weight, for example, just stay on 2.3 grams of body weight. You don't have to change that. What I would suggest doing is take some of your calories both from fats and both from carbs. If you do it all from fats, we said that that range of your fat should be about 15 to 25% of your total calories. So we don't want to go too much under that. Nor do we want to take all our calories from carbohydrates, because carbohydrates is going to be our predominant fuel source when we're doing weight training. So we don't want to take too much from our carbs, because then our performance in the gym might suffer. So generally it's good to take a bit of a split. Take a little bit from fats and a little bit from carbs. Okay? So let's say out of that 150 calorie deficit that we're making, let's say we want to do 60 of those calories coming from fat. So if we do, remember, there's 9 calories per gram of carbs. So if we do 60 calories divided by 9, that's going to be 7 grams that we're going to take from fats. And then the leftover calories, 90 calories divided by 4, because there's 4 calories in 1 gram of carbs. So there's going to be 23 grams of carbs taking away from whatever that person's intake was. So whatever that person's macro was, let's say if they're eating 250 grams of carbs and 50 grams of fats, but we need to make a little bit of a deficit, then we can, I am not good on math on the top of my head. So he was having 250 grams of carbs, and we said we want to remove 23 grams of carbs. So he's going to be eating now. His carbs have dropped down to 227. Then you do the same things from fats. So that is basically the general summary of how to create a calorie deficit. It was a little bit math heavy, and personally I find it hard. When someone's throwing numbers at me, I can't keep up with the numbers. But what I suggest is you could just pause the slides, look at the maths. It's very basic maths. I'm not a maths person, but it is very basic maths. It is not hard to do. That's basically like 80% of the stuff that I do. There are other stuff that I, that as a coach that you learn, but if you follow those steps, that's how you can create your deficit on your own without needing a coach. However, if that was all too confusing and you can't be bothered and you just want someone to tell you the numbers, then obviously reach out. I can help with nutrition, regardless if you want to lose body fat to get shredded or you want to gain muscle mass because you want to improve your performance or whatever, look better. Reach out and I can help you out with that. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, if anything was confusing or if I was too fast, drop me a comment or send me a private message or whatever, and I can answer anything that might have been a little bit confusing. And that's it. See ya.